Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Goldo. I'm sorry, this is the Dragon Ball Super Hit, which is clearly the most original character we've ever seen. Am I crazy, or is he just Goldo? A taller, skinnier Goldo, right? Am I missing something? I probably am. It's been ages since I saw Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, this is Hit. I know a lot of you guys were excited for him. A lot of you really love Super, and so good news, it's not a bad figure. That's a good thing. There are some things that are kind of annoying, but all in all, it's a pretty solid release, and there's lots to talk about. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 6 3/8 inches, which makes him pretty close to about a little over 16 centimeters, right around there. And so he's pretty tall. He's very lanky. And before we get into the review, though, let me go ahead and do a question of the day. Are you a fan of Hit as a character, or did you think it was a cheap plot device to make him as strong as he was, even though he wasn't actually that strong? And you know I'm using a lot of air quotes here because he wasn't strong. Well, I mean, he was kind of strong, I guess, right? Anyway, okay, let's go ahead and get into the aesthetics on this guy. I like the detailed sculpt work on him. I like the way they did his torso and his arms. It's a much more refined sculpt than we normally see on these guys. It reminds me more of the DBS Full Power Broly, where he had like all that really rich anatomy, and a lot of them do look a little bit cartoonish. I know that's ironic sounding, but you know what I mean, I think. Nice deep sculpting, really well detailed sculpt work all the way around. Even the wrinkles in the bands and things, like, it looks really, really solid. They got the face done just the way they needed to. A lot of the Figuarts figures don't look quite right. I think his head looks really good. So that's awesome. Most of his body is hidden underneath his skirt, but even under there we have really well-defined musculature, so that's a very nice touch. His boots are well sculpted. Very nice details all the way around on this guy. Very pleased with that. I do want to say, I do think his shoulders are probably a little bit small. Given the shoulder pads, they should be bigger. And his neck seems a little bit long, but no, it definitely is. It's a little bit long. His neck is long. His head is peanutty because of the length of the neck. But otherwise, like, you'll probably not even notice that and be able to pose it away. But it's worth mentioning those two things are things. The other thing worth mentioning is there's no shading on this guy, so even though he's not glossy, it does take away. Like, this is just this purplish gray, and this is just this grayish greenish blue. A little bit of shading would have gone a long way on this guy, especially in the torso. Even if you left the arms alone, a little bit would have helped a lot. But his face does look very nice, so that's pretty cool. Yellow is painted well on there. That could have been a big misstep, so that's alright. I'll take it. It's not bad. It just could be better. Okay, so aesthetically speaking, it's fine. It's not impressive, but it's good in a lot of ways, and only not quite bad in a few. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for the aesthetic. Shading would go a long way. Shrink the neck a little bit, make the shoulders a little bit bigger, and you're aces. Okay, as far as accessories go, we have the neutral head that comes on him in the package, then we have a frowny head, then we have a gridded head, and then we have a yelling head, all very nicely done. We have an alternate booby plate for him that's slightly narrower pectoral muscles, so you can pose him a little bit easier. We do have alternate skirt pieces with the hands built in, so you can have him doing like the pocketed pose, and we'll talk about that in the articulation section a little bit more. We do have the two fist hands that come on him in the package, and then we have a whack ton of alternate display hands. What do you want to call them? What do I call them? What do I call them? Style pose hands, that's what I call them. A whole bunch of those. Plenty of those. And then lastly, we get a little clear piece and an effect part, which is incredibly well done. It looks super simple, and it is, but it's done perfectly. There's like a pearly, clear, translucent purple paint on this thing, and it just looks fantastic. So well done. Love it. Alright, so accessories on this guy, 8 out of 10. Here's why. Here's why we were missing one accessory that I think is a necessity for this guy. We have his trench coat right here, and it's just basically a shell. There's no flow to it at all. It looks like it's hard material. And then we have this trench coat here, where his hands are in it, and it's in the same pose. It's just hanging straight down. How about one that's windswept? It's not like it would have cost that much, and we're already paying a lot for these figures, figured into the cost or whatever. But we needed something that was at least partially windswept, like he was walking forward at least, or doing anything. There are almost no images of him just standing completely still without his trench coat moving at all, so that's a little bit of a bummer for me. Obviously it's not essential, but you could have got a higher score with that. But still, I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. We're going to take these off for now just so that they're out of my way, and then we'll talk about them when we get there. Okay, so for this guy, let's see what his head is like. We have a double ball peg situation, which is a good thing normally, but look at the ball peg. You see how little room there is for the peg to move? Not how you do it. You need a bigger ball peg. The ball itself is hardly any bigger than the peg, which means you have virtually no range on either section. The neck itself has a lot of range, which is very cool, and it's recessed well, so that's nice. I kind of wonder how hard it would be to pop that out and shorten wherever it connects and then put it back on so that he doesn't have a big long neck. But anyway, maybe they figured because of the trench coat that he'd be too limited because of the collar, but the head has almost no range. It's not even because of the collar. I'm trying to do it and the collar's not bumping and you just can't move the head. That's terribly designed. For a company like Bandai to be doing that, it's very disappointing. We need more range. Like, it's the exact, it would not have cost anything more unless they already had the molds for those parts and that's why they used them. But there's no range in that neck and in that head, and that sucks. For the shoulders, we actually have a really effective butterfly joint. I like it. It brings the arms out far enough that you don't even need the narrower chest. You get a decent pose going, and that's cool. But you can swap on the narrower chest. It just pops off and you have the narrower boobs to put on there. Full rotation, of course, because you're connected on a ball peg. The shoulder pads have a double hinge, which does that. And the reason it does that, I think, is so that you can raise the arm and have it like that. That makes the most sense, since they didn't want it to tuck under, apparently. I don't know why they didn't just let it tuck, but it does this, which can be kind of finicky and annoying, but it also works well enough most of the time. So it's a little weird, but I don't think it's not a problem, as far as I can tell. It's just a little bit weird. Yeah, I don't know. I could see doing that if they actually made them bigger so that it matched the anime a little bit more, so the shoulders didn't look small. But since they're small, I think they could have just been sculpted on there and tucked in. A little bit weird. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow works really well. The elbow pad hides the fact that it's a fairly broad elbow joint, but they did a good job with that. For the wrists, little ball hinges like you would expect, so that's pretty good. Decent range out of those. For the torso, I'm not sure if it feels like there's a hinge and a ball peg, but I haven't popped it apart to check. But here's what you can do. Lean it all the way forward and you don't get any gapping. So that's nice. He leans forward really well. Leaning back, on the other hand, you have virtually none. Side to side, none. So maybe it's just a hinge with a tiny ball peg. That makes the most sense. But it's hard to... It's not the same kind of hinge we've seen in the past, that's for sure. But either way, you can see the range you're getting. There is a little bit of rotation, but it's mostly a crunch. Okay, then down here we just have a big ball peg for that. Full rotation. Floaty belt. Now this is the part that grinds my gears about this figure. His skirt pieces, his trench coat, just tab into his crotch. The top part up on his hip. They just tab in. They don't tab in well. They pop off fairly easily. And this is just a floating piece. I don't know why they did it that way. I would love if somebody could explain it to me, because what I see being the better option is making the belt and the trench coat piece all one piece and having 2 or 3 of those full sets. So like these are connected by the belt at the top and that's one piece. And then same thing for these, and then same thing for the other one. I know it was blurry, but you know what I'm talking about, just the different belts, different trench coat pieces. Why having them tab in is what they chose to do is beyond me, because they don't tab in well, and you end up with this. And this is my biggest gripe about it. I'll show you now. Because when you're posing this thing, since these aren't connected, also, it's a pain in the ass. Okay, so you get the belt on there, tuck it under the belt. Okay, so that's what you have. You tab these in, and that's what you get. I have them on backwards. It works the same either way. Mine actually came with these on backwards, by the way. For those of you that aren't familiar, this line right here is the pocket that you would see on this piece. Okay, so mine came this way, so it doesn't matter. They fit on either side, so that's annoying. They also pop off too easily. That's annoying. But here, if you bring the leg out to the side, what you get is a separated thing right here. They could have made it all one piece and let it flex. They didn't. I don't know why they thought it was a better idea to have a floating belt, a hard plastic belt, and then these things that just pop off way too easily. It should have been just 3 separate pieces. Pop the torso off, pop the skirt on, done. I don't know why we had to have 4 of these. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't work that well. Anyway, for the hips work nicely out to the side. No weird dangly bits, that's good. No chungus down there. Bringing the legs forward, no problem at all going forward. Can't go back. Little tiny butt cheeks getting in the way. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee works really well. That's good. And then for the ankle, it's a full-on ball hinge, so you're going to get as much range out of this ankle as you will on any of the Dragon Ball SH Figuarts, any of them. These are the best ankles, I believe, out of every one that I've ever seen. Also, probably the best toe hinge, though I'm furious. I'm not actually furious, I don't care. But from a review standpoint, I'm furious that the peg in the foot is purple when he's got gray-toed boots. It should be gray. It should not be purple. So that drives me nuts. But otherwise, the articulation works okay. Torso could be a lot better, but we do get a nice crunch out of it. The trench coat is what really bugs me. You're not going to be able to pose this guy and have it look great because of the way it splits. I would have much rathered it just flex and be sculpted a little bit more purposefully. So there you go. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so for articulation, I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7. These things are a little bit weird. The torso could be better, head could definitely be better, and these are going to be an issue. But like the main core articulation, the elbows are good, ankles are good, knees are good, hips are good. Yeah, so 7. 7 seems about right. Okay, final verdict on this guy. It's one of those releases where I don't think anybody's going to absolutely love it. There's nothing like special or great about it, but there's nothing terrible about it either. The things I'm talking about are things that could be a lot better, but not absolutely essential. So I think people who buy it are going to be satisfied, and people who don't buy it aren't going to be really that worried about it. So I'm going to give this guy a final verdict of 7 out of 10 for an SH Figuarts. That's a better rating than a 7 out of 10 for Marvel Legends, for example, for those of you who are new to the channel. It's a 7 out of 10 for what it's supposed to be. They did a good job with it. I want to give it a higher score just because of the alternate hands and heads and effect part, but the neck not being posable for no good reason, and the skirt not having a windswept part, and the torso not really working, like those things bother me. Maybe more than they should. You can bump it up to an 8 if you want. Maybe I could go 8, but I'm going to stick with 7 just because they cut some corners here that I don't think they really should have cut. So that's how I'm going to leave it. You guys can let me know how you feel about it in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you thought about the video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.